178.4. Let's retest it again. Scale. $178.4. So we surpassed the 180, man.
Day 4 of my new training cycle. So I'm on week 1 of this new cycle, and I'll be sharing with you guys different exercises, voiceover, all that type of stuff. And besides that, I want to take a bit of time just to show you guys that it feels so good, man. I've been that skinny guy, you know, and I've been that guy with not much muscle, and I've been that guy who just perma-bulked for years, which I have no regrets. And I was just, you know, I was big with like a lot of fat as well. And I could honestly tell you, man, that like out of all the different body types you see me at, or the different body weights, I mean, this is hands down right now the most rewarding. Carry on to good size, feel good, digestion, my conditioning's a lot better, strength is still decent. Everything's coming along just according to plan, and you know, I'm giving myself a little bit of a pat on the back right now. I'm really happy with the end result, and I'm happy to keep on building. And I'm also happy about the clients who I'm personally working with, either online or in person. They're enjoying the process as well with all the tailor-made programming. And yeah, everything's going pretty well, so can't complain, man. All right, guys, what's going on? So I'll be walking you guys through my day 4, week 2 of my program. This is the bro day, if you will, where I have a bit of chest at the beginning, some delts and some arms. So I'm really trying to bring all that up, especially the arms. So I'm gonna walk you guys through the warm-up, and we're gonna get into it. So I'm starting off with the 90-90 pullover with the kettlebell. And the reason why I'm doing this is to improve my overhead mobility. This is good for your shoulder flexion, has a great carryover to your overhead work. And I jump it off with the alternating low cable reaches. So this is really gonna keep my ribs down, just good for zero weight purposes, zone of opposition, that type of stuff. And then we go on to the main press of the day, which is the dumbbell press with the feet elevated. So the reason why I'm doing this with a 3-second pause at the bottom, if you notice, the 1, 2, 3, is because I'm trying to own positions earlier on in my phase. So for example, the first 3 weeks, I'm doing 3-second iso holds at the bottom of every lift. 3 weeks after that, it's 2-second iso holds. 3 weeks after that, it's a 1-second pause. And then the last 3 weeks of the program, it's basically just touch and go. So I'm lifting a lot more strict, you know, owning the movements a lot better. I'm doing the feet elevated too on my benching. This is gonna help me keep my ribs down, and it doesn't get any more strict than this. You know, I also have a little bit of a tempo on the way down, but we're not gonna get into that. So I'm also reaching at the top of these to drive more protraction, and it just makes my shoulders feel way better, ribs feel better. Whenever you reach, if you guys tend to flare your ribs, try reaching, and that's gonna basically help keep the ribs down. So once I did 2 sets of my dumbbell bench, I jumped it off into 2 sets of the alternating press. And the reason why I do alternating is to have more rotation, more variability, and just more health in my program overall. So if you do everything just bilateral all the time, 2 arms, 2 legs, you're gonna feel very locked up. You're gonna be walking around like a penguin. So like myself, I like to also have unilateral lifts and alternating lifts just to balance everything out, strength discrepancy wise and everything like that. So if you guys don't know where to put your alternating presses in, just do a back down set with those and you should be fine. Now in the past, I would have basically gone on to some overhead work, but now I'm doing things a little bit in reverse. So I'm doing my laterals first, rear delts after, and now I'm doing overhead after. So I'm doing a big giant set right here where I'm doing the 15-pound dumbbells, full range, 3-second pauses. So this clip is at 2x speed. Then I grab the 30s and I do bottom half partials. And I do another 15 reps there, no rest. And then I get into grabbing the 15s again, which I just used, and I do iso holds. If you guys do this, you're gonna have the biggest lateral delt pump of your life. I guarantee you that. It's crazy. So I do 2 sets of giant sets, and my lateral delts are really feeling a lot better. You know, I'm really liking the way they're looking. They have a completely different look to them, and we're gonna see how it's gonna keep going. So from there, I basically jump off to some rear delt flies. So last cycle, I was basically doing the reverse pec deck, and now I'm just trying out the cable. So I'm on the fence. I like the cable, but I also like the one where you're just on the incline bench with dumbbells. So I'm still playing around with it. But the cable one is fine too. It's really like, you could feel the tension the whole way. So I basically do full range for the rear delt, and I basically do some bottom half partials with the same weight. Okay, so now as you can see, as I'm setting up for my overhead work, I drive protraction, so I'm reaching. So if you guys try this right now, if you guys retract and try to get your arms overhead, you're gonna feel jammed. But if you guys protract to get your arms forward and basically try to get your arms overhead now, you'll be granted way more access. So that's why I start off the press with a reach. At the bottom, I have a 3-second iso hold, so 1, 2, 3. And just drive it up. I'm doing sets of 10 to 12 here, so really high reps. And that's pretty much it, man, as far as the overhead work is concerned. If you guys have trouble keeping your ribs down on overhead work, just elevate the feet. So I did the same thing on my overhead as I did on my dumbbell bench. Just grab a little box for box jumps, put your feet on there. So it may not look like it in the clip. It looks like I'm actually having a machine that's really like low to the ground, but no, there's actually a box there, you just can't see it. The same box that I basically use right here. So then the delts are done, chest is done. Now we're going on to some alternating, should I say some, sorry I'm losing my words, tricep work, some isolation. So I basically have this extension right here where I'm basically just pressing in front of me. Some gyms already have this machine built, but my gym doesn't, and I have a really good connection with this lift personally, so I actually like this better than push downs. So if you guys notice a pattern in my training, I'm usually starting off with the low reaches to basically just help me keep the ribs down, and then I jump off to more higher degrees of shoulder flexion. So my second tricep exercise of the day is basically the overhead extension. In the past, you guys are familiar with my older videos, I was doing this with 2 arms, but now I'm basically just doing it with 1 arm at a time. And I got this lift from John Meadows. It's basically the hammer curl with a 3-second iso hold at the bottom, 15-degree range. So I feel this really good in my brachioradialis, and I just jump off to some basic cable curls. Okay, so very simple stuff right here, nothing too complicated. I have a better connection here with the cable, and the reason why I'm doing the hammer curls first is because I actually lack supination. So when I start off with the hammer with the neutral grip, it basically grants me a bit more access to transition right into supination after, as opposed to starting with supination right off the gate. So we're approaching the end here. I did a bit of cardio after, which I'm not going to show you guys, but I basically have some abs here. And the reason why I have the roller between the hamstring and the calf is for better pelvic control, feel the hamstrings a bit better, and I'm alternating so I don't feel super stiff when I do my ab work. And that's pretty much it, guys. All right, guys, so here we are at the table. So now it's Q&A time, and I'm gonna knock out these questions. So Invictus says, hey Phil, I was wondering, what are the best strength training, bodybuilding, and conditioning books you would recommend for every lifter? So it's very hard for me to recommend something for every single lifter, but what I would personally say is that if you're really serious, I would just take courses, even if you don't even want to be a personal trainer, even if you're not even in the fitness industry to that extent. If you want knowledge, reading a book is going to be good, but when you take courses, this is basically going to put you in a position where you have tests every week. So now it really tests your knowledge. You can't just skim through pages, you actually have to read the material properly and grasp the information. So on myself, I like the International Sports Science Association, so it's ISSA by Fred Hatfield. Then there's Precision Nutrition if you really want to know a lot of the ins and outs of nutrition. And those are some really bang for your buck courses, but keep in mind that you could read all you want, but at the end of the day, experience is also very important. You can't just be some bookworm who's just constantly reading and just not applying any of it. So I'm a big advocate of doing both. You want to read, you also want to apply as well. So hope that helps out. Okay, so the next question is, Harun Skywalker says, you look amazing, my guy, in the thumbnail. You look like you kept muscle and only shredded. Is this accurate? I would say it's accurate. I don't think I lost much muscle. If I did, it's probably not much. Then he says, I have a great garage gym. I am down from 100 kilos to 95 kilos. My ideal weight is 85 kilos. What do you think if I do cardio, example basketball games, and work out in the garage on alternate days? I think basketball is good. I personally tore my ACL playing basketball, so be careful. But at the same time, these types of freak accidents, they don't always happen when they're planned. So it's just they're unexpected. So I would just say try to be careful if you can. Don't play. I was playing American with like 15 guys, and then I jumped and I landed on someone's foot. So it's like on my part I wasn't lucky, but there was obviously more players on the court, so it wasn't a wise decision on my part. But you could definitely play basketball. It's definitely a good form of conditioning. It's definitely going to give you some more movement options. It's going to help you get from one side to the other, which I'm obviously a big advocate of. There's a lot of this bodybuilding style training, it really locks you up into certain positions. So, definitely playing basketball is going to make you feel very athletic. There's a jumping component. There's not much jumping that goes on in the gym. So I'm all for it if you don't get hurt, So next question is, Ajith Sidhu says, I would like to ask, as a 5'10" person, would you mind giving me a goal on how big I should get to look big and aesthetic like you? Like, should I aim for 18-inch arms, 55-inch chest, etc.? So I would say it depends on what your definition of aesthetic is. So for some people, a true 15% is very aesthetic, even 16% for some people. And for other people, it's like 8 to 10. So that's really purely based on what your perception of it being aesthetic is. And as far as like 18-inch arms, if you're trying to get 18-inch arms as a natural and you're like 8 to 10%, most people, like 99.9% of people, don't have those measurements, So if you want to get that measurement, you're probably gonna have to have a higher body fat. 55-inch chest, that's pretty big too. Like I have like 55-inch like shoulders around, so I don't know how you're gonna get a chest that's 55 inches at 5'10". If you were like maybe 7 feet tall, I understand, but like those are really hard measurements to get, man. So if you want to get those exact measurements, you probably have to up the body fat. You probably have to be at a relatively fluffier state to get those measurements. But I would say that, yeah, I would just leave it at that, so hope that helps. So now user says, how fast is it possible to rebuild the gains I lost after 2 years of break after 5-6 years of consistent training? How to structure a comeback plan. I'm thinking about full body or upper lower type of workout. Something like a deadlift once a week, squat twice, Nordics, upper body pull-ups, push-ups, rows, dips, OHP, rotate every 2 to 3 workouts. How high should the volume be, RP wise? I'm thinking about the medium amount of sets, RP 7, but the frequency should just be higher, right? Okay, so this is a very loaded question, but what I would say is that if you've been on a layoff of 2 years after 5 to 6 years of consistent training, I would basically start on the lower end of the spectrum with the volume, and I would do a lot of pauses, I would do a little bit of tempo work, because you haven't been in the gym much. So the pauses and the tempo at the beginning of your program would basically help you own positions better. It's a possibility that your technique isn't as sharp as it once was if you've been training 5 to 6 years. So this micro phase of your training where you have these pauses and these tempos, you're gonna own positions, and the likelihood of getting injured is generally reduced with this lighter load. And then as the program goes on, you could like use less of a pause, use less of a tempo, and you can start working back up to those old numbers you've had, and then you could eventually exceed those numbers. But as far as the lifts are concerned, those are good lifts if you could actually do them properly. And as far as the volume is concerned, back in the day, you guys like saw a lot of my training, and like I was talking about higher volume and stuff like that. And I've completely changed my mind about that type of stuff. Like my volume might still be high to some people, but I'm definitely on the lower, relatively speaking, a lower spectrum of the volume as I used to be, so I would definitely start off with lower volume. And the reason why is because if you're actually taking your sets, if you're actually training hard and taking your sets close to failure, you don't need to do like 30 sets in a workout. Most people don't even need 20 sets. You get like a solid like 15, 16 in most cases, and you'll be perfectly fine with that. So hope that helps. Okay, so last question, Ramido says, I know you get asked this a lot, but do you think you'll ever have another video with Alphadestiny? I think it'd be interesting given how much both your philosophies have changed. Honestly, man, what do you think, man? Of course we're gonna make a collab with Alphadestiny, man. Like, that's a given. Like, that's who I basically started making videos with. You know, we still talk on a regular basis. It's just lately our styles of videos haven't really been aligned. But what I will say is that I have video ideas in the tank, and expect the unexpected. You know, I'm not gonna tell you when it's gonna happen, but what I will guarantee you is that it will happen, and it's gonna be crazy. So I'll leave you guys with that, and let's keep it going. Differently on the cut, I personally started the cut eating certain foods like, you know, pasta. If you guys watched my Bulking on a Budget series back in the day, I had a lot of pasta. It was just one of my main foods, one of my main carb sources. And when I started cutting, I actually took out the pasta for zucchini noodles, also known as zoodles, which you may have seen on my Instagram. And basically, the reason why I took the pasta out, which I shouldn't have, was because, you know, just lower in calories, I would feel less bloated, just less carbs. You know, I still always had carbs in my plan, but just lowered the carbs a little bit. So I was just making some modifications to the plan. But in hindsight, I shouldn't have taken it out because due to my psychological profile, due to my background, maybe it's in my Mediterranean roots, whatever the case is, pasta is just something that always agreed well with my system. My digestion always felt really good with it. Energy levels were always really high, noticeably more high than any other carb source, more than sweet potatoes or rice. But obviously that's just my personal experience. Pumps in the gym were better, and it's just one of those foods I really felt good with. So I don't know why I restricted myself. I shouldn't have restricted myself from that particular food, but I did, and I still got to the goal destination. But it's funny because I remember the day before I weighed in at 178, I actually had pasta the day before. And I actually thought I was gonna wake up slightly heavier or just the same weight, and I woke up a little bit leaner. So it's just very funny how I just shouldn't have taken it out. And if you guys get anything from this message, there's a certain food that's actually relatively healthy for you, and you just take it out completely, that might not be the wisest option. You know, obviously if you're on a cut, you wanna take the calories down for that particular food, but you don't have to take it out completely. And that's what I personally did. Now, another thing that I would have done differently was I basically start off the cut earlier on with roughly 2 vegetables per meal. And then as the cut started going on, you know, sometimes it would be a little bit slower. So I would up the vegetables because I was trying to basically have more satiation. So I was doing what's called a volume eating, where you have bigger meals with fewer calories because some foods aren't as high up there. But at the same time, there's diminishing returns with the vegetables too. You don't want to eat too many vegetables. You get too much fiber, and that could potentially affect your digestion. So sometimes you have to experiment for yourself. You have to cross certain lines just to see what you could tolerate and what you can't. So I found for myself, the sweet spot is roughly 3 vegetables per meal, 2 to 3. But I wouldn't go above 3 vegetables. And as far as the fiber intake is concerned, I feel best when my fiber intake is roughly 35 to 40 grams. If I go up in the 40s, you know, like 45, it's not gonna feel good on my diet. So as far as future content is concerned, I wanna get back to my original roots, so my core audience, which is on YouTube. I know I've been posting a lot more on the Instagram platform, but I wanna get back to the 5-10 minute videos of very specific topics on my YouTube channel as well. So I'm gonna get back to that. The road to 180 is officially finished. I set a goal for myself. I hit the goal. I feel really healthy in this 10-pound range, and I'm not gonna get greedy at this point. I'm not gonna, you know, yell road to 170, let's keep pushing the envelope. Maybe I will in the future, but as far as right now is concerned, ultimately what's important is my health, and I feel really good here. So I don't see a sense in just getting greedy, and that's pretty much that. So, you know, we got hundreds of videos, ideas in the vault. I'm never gonna run out of video ideas, and I'm really excited about showing you certain new pieces of knowledge I've acquired within the last couple months. And if you guys have any recommendations, you know, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. And as far as your personal cut is concerned, you know, just because I've reached my personal destination as far as body weight is concerned, doesn't mean you guys should take your feet off the gas. You know, still move with momentum, still keep your eyes on the prize. You know, if you guys find along the way that you feel extremely good at a certain number, you don't necessarily feel the need to chase these arbitrary numbers. You know, they're all arbitrary at the end of the day. Obviously, there's certain body fat ranges you want to be at for more optimized health, but generally speaking, you still have to go with, you know, your gut instinct, you know. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Hope you guys enjoyed the series, and we're going to get back to regular content. So see you guys soon.